Hello everybody. Today I will be talking about loved ones and taking them for granted. It's a tricky one, this, because I think we all are guilty at different times in our lives of taking loved ones for granted. And the term loved ones is very broad. It could be your wife, your girlfriend, your husband, your son, your daughter. It could be your parents, grandparents. It could be anybody. And taking them for granted is also a very broad spectrum, isn't it? What determines whether or not you're taking them for granted? I think it's really important to realise a few different things on this subject. First of all, why is it always the people we care about most? That's a simple answer. We have a belief that the people that love us the most will also tolerate the most because they love us the most, which means they are effectively a safe space to let loose. They're a safe person to be mean to because they're going to be there. Kind of like treating them like the difference between a dog and a cat. You're mean to a cat, the cat will just be aloof, doesn't want anything to do with you. But if you're mean to a dog, it will continue to come back as long as you feed it, and every now and then give it a stroke. It has a desperate need to be loved. And so therefore we know that if we wanted to, we could take liberties with a dog. Obviously we don't, because we're generally in this country nicer to animals than we are to other human beings. I read an interview recently, and it was about the next time you're going to see your dad. And this guy was basically saying his parents don't live anywhere near him. And his dad was of an age where potentially he's got sort of 2 or 3 years left. And the interviewer said to him, so how long do you have left of your dad? And he said, well, potentially 2-3 years. And the interviewer said, how often do you see your dad? And he said, twice a year. And he said, so you've potentially got 4 to 6 more times with your dad. And that really struck a chord with me, because that's the reality of life, isn't it? If we stop counting how many years lie ahead and we actually count how many times in that time we see people, we actually have a very limited amount of time with everybody around us. I reckon if you spoke to most people who have separated from their partners and they've gone on a 2-year decline, how many nice days with that person did they actually have left at the start of all of the trouble? If that took say 18 months to deteriorate as a relationship, how many good days did they have left in that time? Probably only a handful. Which means when we look at a situation and say, this relationship is not going where I want it to, this relationship is starting to fall apart, and you think, I've got time to fix it, it's okay. I'm angry at the moment, I'm going to remain angry because she deserves it or he deserves it. Whereas in actual fact, that could be the start of you only having 3 or 4 or 5 more good days with that person, unless you act immediately, unless you do something about it immediately. Now, we are notoriously impatient with the people that we love. My girlfriend says to me all the time, I'll be on the phone with a friend for an hour, giving them advice and trying to comfort them if they're struggling with stuff. And I'll get off the phone and she'll say, I wish you had the same patience with me as you do with everyone else. And she's right. I should have more patience with her. I think the problem is that in relationships, we fall into that trap of always taking things personally, always feeling like it's a direct attack when our advice isn't taken, or if there is an argument coming back our way. And generally speaking, they're two things that don't exist with friends. If my friend phones me up and is really upset about a situation and I give him or her some advice and they go, yeah, I'm not going to do that, my attitude immediately goes to, cool, no problems, doesn't really matter to me. If you want to continue doing what you're doing and have the same results, that's up to you. It's not going to directly affect my life because I'm not in love with you. I'm not in a relationship with you, and I don't live with you. So crack on and do what you're doing. I don't need to be patient with those people. It doesn't matter. So because I don't need to be, I tend to be a lot more patient. Whereas with my partner, I know that any advice she doesn't take could potentially impact my relationship, which impacts me. So I'll become quite annoyed quite quickly if she's doing something and I'm going, that's not going to work. And she says, well, how do you know? Straight away, I think, well, I'm trying to help you. Why are you fighting me on this? The reality is she's probably scared, unsure, probably feels like she's failing a little bit because she should be able to work out the answers herself. She's now relying on help. And quite often with women particularly, they just want to open up and vent. They don't want a solution, and us men are permanently giving them solutions. So how do we change? How do we stop this from happening? And again, it's a really, really, really simple solution. Write down all of the things that your partner does for you. Write down all of their good characteristics. Write down all of the things that you love about them. And then write down a list of the things that you think they will like and love about you and what you think you give to them or the relationship. It doesn't have to be a partner. This works for a father or a son or anyone at all that you're having the issue with. And you'll find out very, very quickly you have got a massive list for the things that they contribute towards your life, a massive list of their positive qualities. But when the pressure's put on you to provide an honest account of what you think you give, quite often we find that our lists don't quite add up and we're actually not working as hard as we need to be. So why don't we try a little bit harder? Why don't we do the list and give ourselves some perspective? Because perspective is what gives us hope, and we all need hope. That's it for this week. Thanks very much for listening. As always, feedback is welcome. Let me know what you think. And if any of you have got any more topics you want discussed, if any of you are struggling with any problems, let me know. I'm not a counsellor. I might not be able to help, but I'll be able to give you my perspective on it. And there might be something in an 8-minute video that actually resonates with you and helps a little bit. And if it helps a little bit, it helps a lot. Thanks very much. Take care, guys. Speak to you soon.